because this is our hangout. Every Friday, we're going to get on and just hang out for an hour or so, talk some Bitcoin, answer your questions in the chat. We will discuss your hot takes. I know there's probably no shortage of those in the chat with our crew. So, what's going on? We have Andy Edstrom with us today. What's up, Andy?
Gentlemen, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Yeah, man, can't complain. Never a dull moment in Bitcoin, is there?
Oh yeah, it's every week. This is why I like to do this, right? Because it's just at the end of the week, you need to hang out with some friends, unwind a little bit, process. Reed, how you doing this week?
Doing really well. Yeah, it's been a fun week. An exciting Thursday for sure in Bitcoin land. But yeah, Swan's been crushing. It's been fun to be talking even more and more to people, calling in on the phone, looking to open accounts. So I've been having a good week.
Nice, man. You got your puffy coat on. Is it getting
I know it is. It is. I'm in my Citadel in Montana, and it is cold. Wake up in the morning, frost every morning. We've had a lot of snow already, actually. Not today, but yeah, it's turning into winter fast here.
Yeah.
Do you get service up on the mountain? Can you do support calls while hitting the slopes? Or
we're gonna see. I'm gonna see when the ski slopes open. I'm gonna see whether I can do Slack and calls from the chairlift for an hour or two a day.
Yeah, man, that sounds good.
I'll never forget a ski trip that I did to Mammoth, and it was totally busted by this deal, this terrible restructuring deal I was working on. And I had my big laptop. This was this was probably 10, 11 years ago. And it was still like a pretty chunky piece of hardware. And I carried it with me the whole time. I had it on every run. I was stopping in the lodge to send emails. It was a time.
What kind of skier are you, Andy? I'm guessing that Reed is an expert because he's basically wearing ski gear right now. But
yeah, I'm intermediate. You won't see me on too many double diamond runs. I don't really enjoy mogul runs. I like speed. I like jumps. Yeah, I'm no expert. I can hold my own, but I'm not a great technical skier.
Somebody says swans can ski. Yes, they can. They ski very well. Don't quote me on that.
We have a semi-pro skier on the squad here.
I've been skiing since I was 3, so it's sort of my longest term hobby and passion in life is skiing. And you can see the tips of my skis up there. I got a couple of old race skis and powder skis.
Are you downhill only? Are you also?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I also have a backcountry touring setup, so that allows you to go uphill. But the whole point of going uphill is then so you can lock in and ski down again.
Right. Right.
I don't really do much cross country skiing other than that.
Swans can do all kinds of things, Colin. All right. Well, let's hop into some news, guys. All right. BitMEX, man, big news dropped yesterday that they have been handed a couple of indictments, accusations from the CFTC, and also what was the other organization, Andy?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot.
Well, there were two federal organizations.
It was the Division of Enforcement of Digital Asset and Bank Secrecy Act Task Force. Was that?
Okay, yeah, that's
but you were talking about. You were talking about FinCEN. Yeah, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Okay,
and CFTC charged 5 entities that are involved in ownership of BitMEX and 3 individuals. Arthur Hayes, Ben Dello, and Samuel Reed. Samuel Reed is in custody in Massachusetts. Of course, BitMEX is the derivatives trading platform, probably the largest, at least they tout themselves, the largest derivatives trading platform in Bitcoin, founded in 2014. Just well known among Bitcoiners, or infamous, I should say, among Bitcoiners for just wrecking so many people, and Arthur Hayes reveling in wrecking as many people as possible. 100x long on BitMEX, getting completely wrecked. There's actually even a Twitter handle that is just like BitMEX wrecked, and it'll just put out these kill shots with like 30 emojis, however many emojis, based on like how bad the kill was, how much the liquidation was for. So we've all, I mean, everyone knows BitMEX. We've all had fun watching these guys get their asses handed to them over the years. Man, it's Wild West, right? And this is sort of I guess a progression toward a less wild frontier in crypto.
So can I throw my 2 cents in the ring here? It'll be interesting. I'm going to basically play not the devil's advocate. I'm going to take basically the anti-BitMEX stance. I'll say a couple things. So the first thing, literally in the CFTC announcement, there's this quote from the CFTC chairman, Heath Tarbert. He says, quote, "Digital assets hold great promise for our derivatives markets and for our economy. For the United States to be a global leader in the space, it is imperative that we root out illegal activity like that alleged in this case. New and innovative financial products can flourish only if there is market integrity. We can't allow bad actors that break the law to gain an advantage over exchanges that are doing the right thing by complying with our rules." Now, I think there's a couple ways to look at this thing. One angle, of course, is like, the institutional money, the regular way money, the wealth manager money, which I represent, for that wave to come in, basically a lot, basically the cleaner the space is, quote unquote, cleaner, the better, for that wave of money. Now, some people would say, forget about those guys, let's keep it the wild, wild west. Let's keep it land of the outlaws, so to speak. That's the most uncensorable, that's what this thing's trying to be. I think I would have more sympathy with that perspective if BitMEX actually did anything good for Bitcoin. And my perspective is it doesn't really, right? I mean, it exists. It's interesting that it exists as this, offshore casino, but it's not arguably, bringing in hodlers. I think you have to have Bitcoin already, right? You have to already have acquired in order to trade it. And I don't know. I think it just adds to the volatility of the asset. So those are a few thoughts.
Andy, I've got a question for you. So I don't know if I assume you read Marty's Bent, but he had one yesterday or 2 days ago when this all came out. And, he makes a point that I bring up sometimes that, a fully fleshed out derivatives market is good for Bitcoin.
Yep.
While there is a lot of gambling on BitMEX, like, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think BitMEX is good for Bitcoin.
100%. 100%.
Bring it on. I mean, I could retort.
BitMEX is really good for Bitcoin. I mean, it provides an incredible amount of liquidity, and it does facilitate price discovery. Like, you may think that that's just volatility, but that is actually like moving Bitcoin from hands that don't value it. And then you get these flash crashes, and it gets moved into hands that do value it at lower prices. And so it helps the market figure out what the thing should be priced at. And these degenerate leverage traders do that. So I'm like a huge BitMEX fan. I've never traded on BitMEX. I would never trade on BitMEX. But I definitely think that they should exist and should continue to exist, or that services like them should continue to exist.
Okay, counter argument. So my belief, and I assume it basically because it's offshore and unregulated and we just don't know the answer, right? My belief is that either BitMEX itself or certain privileged traders, whether that's, who knows, Arthur and a handful of friends or whoever, look at the order book now and then. They could see it in real time. They could see, how many of these levered bets are built up on the long and the short side. And then when the time is right, they can push it in one direction or another. My belief, it's basically unprovable, is that this, helps account for those, BART patterns, really abrupt movements in the asset, and basically that it adds to volatility. The classic argument, Brekkie, that you made, I think, in favor of derivatives, most people would argue, well, I don't know if most. Guys like Raoul Pal, let's say, would argue that derivatives help dampen volatility. It seems to me that a highly levered exchange that's unregulated, more or less has opaque behavior amongst the principals, probably increases the leverage, or excuse me, the volatility. And I think that if we want Bitcoin to ever truly be money, including, medium of exchange someday, that having that volatility, that extra volatility is not helpful. In fact, we ought to have less over time. Now, Reed, you might argue, well, screw it. In the early days, it's early days. So, let's just get the Bitcoin into those strong hands. By the way, it's concentrating in the strong hands. Is that what we want? Like, do you want Arthur Hayes, to hold 1% of Bitcoin or 2% of Bitcoins? I mean, is that what we want? Is it worth it?
If he's got a nation state proof multisig set up.
Well, we're going to find out, right?
If he doesn't, then that's pretty dangerous.
I would assume he does. All right. I assume he does. Like, he's been preparing for this for years. They launched in 2014. I figured Arthur thought that this was going to come a couple years ago, right? Like, he may have thought when he started this thing that he might have 2 or 3 years before this kind of thing would happen. He's had 6. So let's see, how well his 193,000 Bitcoin are safeguarded in multi-jurisdictional arbitraged multi-sig.
Tell me more about why BitMEX is good for Bitcoin. Someone.
Well, so in my view, it allows users to do, like, some users are traders, degenerate traders, and this provides a service for them. So shutting down a service that some people find really valuable, in my view, is a step backwards. Like, that's not a service I personally want, but I think any government shutting down a service that clearly many people really value, even if from the outside we think, label them degenerate traders or think that Arthur Hayes is making too much of a killing. Like, clearly he's providing a product that's really valuable to the market. And so I think he should be allowed to run that product personally.
The other side of this, I think, is, if you look at like traditional commodities markets, like, miners need a way to hedge, and I don't know how many miners are using BitMEX to do that, but, that's what futures markets are really for. People use them for gambling, but that's not that's not why they were invented,
Yeah, I would love, that's what I kind of wish we knew, is I wish we had more, insight into who the players are. As you point, you're 100% right that,
you're arguing for more KYC. Is that what you're arguing for?
I don't know if I'm arguing for more KYC. I don't know. I'm not sure that it's. I get the libertarian argument that, if it exists and there's demand, then that's good. I don't know. I guess I'm unconvinced. It's like I said, I was going to be playing, I'm arguing the anti perspective here.
Yeah. And you brought up some good points. In particular, the one about volatility, I actually want to draw more on. You said, like, that is inherently, or that's problematic, at least in the long term. Like, could you expand on why you think volatility is an issue for Bitcoin in the long term?
Sure. Well, Reed, I'm glad you asked. So in my book, I present a case which is 14 characteristics of good money, right? And one of them is short-term volatility. And I believe that so far history has shown us that the lower the short-term volatility of a money in terms of purchasing power, right? Like dollar would be a classic example. Again, short-term volatility, different than long-term. The less volatile in the short term, the easier it is to use as medium of exchange, all else equal. And of course, all else is not equal. So I'm not saying like, oh, I would, trade other elements or aspects of Bitcoin in order to get lower short-term volatility and purchasing power. I wouldn't. I'm just saying if we hold all else equal, then shorter term volatility for a mature, useful form of money is a good thing. And again, we're nowhere near that. I think we're at least 2 orders of magnitude on price, upward, right? 100x upward from having significantly lower price volatility in Bitcoin. But that's my argument.
Mm-hmm. That seems reasonable, like 30 years out, 50 years out. Just the volatility to get there. It's like you're not going to be able to really dampen the volatility on the upward direction to get there. And then I think you're also as a result of that upward volatility, you're going to have these massive down spikes.
Yeah, no, I agree. And as we say, the vol. Many people think the vol is a feature, not a bug, right?
Yeah.
I think we can debate, over what time span the vol is a feature, not a bug, right? I think it's a feature over a multi-week, time span, or a multi-month time span, right? Big moves, people, the big moves that give enough people enough chance to catch their eye, plus, set up an account at Swan, of course, to actually get some, basically, I think that's useful. Is high volatility day to day or hour to hour useful? I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'd say not. Suggest not. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's interesting. It is interesting to think about, though. I mean, there's no obvious right answer. There's pro and con arguments. I'm not, I guess, saddened by the news. I'm happy that, Bitcoin price basically didn't move. I mean, the market kind of shrugged, it looks like. I think certainly I had some conversations yesterday. I was talking with, I'm sure Bitcoin Tina wouldn't mind me telling people that I was talking with him, and we're talking about, what the short-term result could be. But so far price has held up, so that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Should
Brady on mute.
Hodlonaut's famous last words. I don't know how that. Oh yeah, I know how that happened. There were some noisy kids out in the hallway. Yeah, one, the volatility thing. I actually think the volatility is good for Bitcoin. I ascribe to that, at least in the short term. I think we're at the point where that's decreasing, at least to the downside. I think we're seeing institutions come in. Let's look at the MicroStrategy move, and I think more institutions will be coming in slowly and with small positions over the next year, 2, 3 years, 4 years. I mean, just more and more over the rest of this decade. And when they do that, they're going to come in like Michael Saylor did and just buy a little bit every few minutes, right? And when there's that kind of demand on the market, they're not in a hurry to buy, right? So they can just kind of be patient, chill there. That really limits the volatility to the downside. It doesn't limit the volatility to the upside. So, I hope that's where we're headed, right? And I do think in the long term, who cares, right? One Bitcoin always equals one Bitcoin. There's no volatility when it comes to Bitcoin. It's only against sturdy fiat, which does matter because it is the unit of account predominantly around the world right now. And so we still need to take that into account, especially for adoption. But the more people who come in thinking of this as a long-term store of value, as a hedge against inflation, as Michael Saylor said today, right? He tweeted out, this is not a way to transmit money over 10,000 miles. It's a way to transmit money over 10,000 days and not have it melt away. Beautiful, right? This is about space and time, not just space, right? So yeah, zero volatility as far as I'm concerned in that regard. So yeah.
Should we move on to the more fun aspect of this? Which
I got one more question for Andy, actually.
Hit me.
You know much about derivatives markets. So BitMEX sort of made a name for itself by, I believe, being the first exchange to sort of do perpetual future contracts trading on Bitcoin. And as someone who personally has never actually traded Bitcoin derivatives, and someone who just hodls actual Bitcoin, would love to hear sort of an Ely 5, explain like I'm 5 version of what a perpetual future swap contract is.
I'm the wrong guy. I'm the wrong guy. Because
we need Margot Robbie. We should just play the Margot Robbie clip. Have you not seen that?
No. Oh, yes, I had in the bathtub, you mean?
Yeah, in the bathtub. Hold on. We got to watch this.
Okay. No, but bring it up. Look, I'm not going to stop you showing me some Margot Robbie. No one's going to complain about that. No, but seriously, Reed, I have not delved into the specifics of how the contract is constructed, nor have I ever traded it. As far as I know, it's unique. At least at the time it was launched, it was unique. So yeah, I'm in terms of going second to second, discussing, what happens when the contract's open versus closed and how it's settled, I'm the wrong guy. Sorry.
Well, in short, it's a derivative market that essentially is designed to reflect the existing price of the spot market, which is what you would actually buy Bitcoin at and own your private keys. But so it's a derivative market on that, but you can't trade it directly back to spot. It's just sort of always in fiat.
Always rolling. Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I mean, it's an obvious distinction versus the standard futures market in pretty much all assets, all commodities. Well, commodities as well as equities, et cetera. Even if you're buying whether you're buying S&P futures or futures on Japanese yen or anything else, it's true that you have multiple maturity dates, settlement dates, right? So you can buy a 1 month contract, you can buy a 3 month contract, 6 month contract, and there's definitely embedded time value and risk of movement in the curve. And people's perceptions of, not only where is spot today, as you just pointed out, but where is spot likely to be, a few months from now. So yes, it is an attempt. That much I think you're spot on about it. It is an attempt to basically remove that time uncertainty element, which makes it, by the way, makes it less likely that there are miners using that product to hedge, right? Because if I'm a miner, what am I really doing? And this is true not just of mining, but it's true of, farmers, selling pork bellies, or wheat futures. They say, my harvest, or the slaughter happens, I'm going to slaughter X number of animals, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now, a year from now. Likewise, a miner is saying, well, based on, the hash rate I have online, I expect to earn, this many coins in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. Well, you actually do want to match your time element there when you expect to, quote unquote, harvest the product or mine the product or whatever it is. So if you have, an instrument that basically removes that time arbitrage, that suggests that it's less useful for a miner who's actually trying to hedge their production.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great question. I'm glad we got into that. So show me a miner that's actually using BitMEX to hedge.
Fair. Do we want to watch this Margot Robbie clip? I have it queued up.
I won't stop you.
All right. Let me wait 1 second. Get rid of that graphic. Share screen. Chrome tab. There we go.
Blow by blow of the behind the scenes production.
Something big off is going into these funds, but then they started running out of mortgages to put in them. After all, there are only so many homes and so many people with good enough jobs to buy them, right? So the banks started filling these bonds with riskier and riskier mortgages. That way, they can keep that profit machine churning, right? By the way, these risky mortgages are called subprime. So whenever you hear subprime, think shit. Our friend Michael Burry found out that these mortgage bonds that were supposedly 65% AAA were actually just mostly full of shit. So now he's going to short the bonds, which means to better gains. Got it? Okay. Now fuck off.
Oh man, The Big Short. What a classic, man. So good.
That wasn't quite the clip I was looking for. But
yeah, nothing
Right.
to do with perpetual futures trading, but
I think it was exactly the clip you're looking for. As Reed pointed out, we learned nothing, but I'm not complaining.
Oh, fair. Time to move on to BitLord.
yeah, I think this is what my favorite part of yesterday.
We can always come back to BitMEX, but yeah, let's roll with it. This is some good stuff. And I honestly have not seen any of this, so I'm ready to be entertained.
So yeah, yesterday, very shortly after this news first broke, I think it was like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. or something, BitLord, sort of this crypto personality, has fairly large following and is just a relentless shit poster, like purely an entertainer. And he switched his entire account name, profile over to being Arthur Hayes, and then essentially started impersonating Arthur Hayes for a few hours. And it was actually picked up by a few publications, including CoinDesk, tricking some mainstream media, but also a lot of people on Twitter into thinking that Arthur Hayes was just essentially losing it and asking the U.S. government to come after him, running around trying to avoid helicopters. It was a very entertaining few hours.
Reed, real quick, sorry, are you? You look frozen on my end. Can everyone see him moving?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, cool. All right.
Proceed.
No, so that was the brief summary of Crypto BitLord, who I haven't paid attention to in years, but did give me a good laugh yesterday as a result of impersonating Arthur Hayes.
So I realized I had him muted, which is why I didn't see any of this yesterday, and I think it's because of how noisy he was in like 2017. Even though I was, irrevocable shitcoiner at that point in time, and I was following his pump and dump like bullshit at that point. Like even then, it got too noisy for me. That guy, man, he's good at what he does, though.
I saw him once. I don't think I've ever followed him. I think someone retweeted him. I've never followed him, but I haven't muted him. I probably should.
Yeah,
he's entertaining. I'll give him that.
Yeah, certainly an entertainer.
Yeah.
If there's anybody who could have a good shot at staying on the run, staying on the lam for a while, I suspect it could be Mr. Hayes, if that's the route he chose.
I mean, they're going to fight it, and they've got plenty of money to afford lawyers, so I don't think we've seen the end of this battle.
Oh no, it's just beginning. Yeah. I mean, I guess it began when BitMEX launched. And Arthur, man, he has been flaunting this, right? Like for years. Like he doesn't run away from this, doesn't pull any punches. I love the guy. I mean, just he's a great writer. He's just pulls no punches, which I respect. And he's like completely transparent about what BitMEX does and what it should do, and about how, filthy rich it makes him, and, parked some Lambos outside of Consensus 2017 and got mainstream media coverage from it. And those images are like seared into my head. Plus BitMEX Research, awesome, organization that they have running there. I put out incredibly useful content for the Bitcoin space. And, I've referenced, BitMEX Research many times, dozens and dozens of times over the years, in shows that I'm writing or producing, and tweets and all that stuff. So BitMEX I respect it for what it is. Like they're not hiding what they're doing. Okay. And so it's not something I'm going to use.
And totally transparent when they add new altcoins, they're totally transparent that they're shit coins. Not that they're going to change the world, just that the whole point of adding this is to leverage trade it.
Yeah. And they're Bitcoiners, right? They're Bitcoiners, and they are shamelessly profiteering off the trading of shit tokens for Bitcoin. People want to do it, great. We're going to give you the place to do it, and we're going to make a hell of a lot of money to let you do it.
Can we spitball a little longer on this? Wind the clock back to March or whatever it was, Black Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay. My recollection, and I didn't look too hard into this, was that BitMEX basically yanked the plug, right? They had their oh shit moment, and they were like, "Oh God, this could go to $1,000."
Yeah.
And so they stopped it. Your thoughts on the fact that BitMEX maybe could have taken Bitcoin down sub $1,000 for all we know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, so
no, I would have bought all the.
What's up?
No, because I would have bought all the
Well, that. I mean, it would have stopped at some point. I mean, there are plenty of other exchanges out there with all kinds of limit orders sitting down there, ready to buy the dip. I would have personally loved $1,000 Bitcoin, but yes, it would have been quite a psychological level to break if it had happened. You would have to consider that there would be some major damage in confidence if that number was breached. I don't. If it were, I have a hard time believing that it would stay down there very long. And BitMEX halting trading, it happens on all stock exchanges. It happened in '87 too, right? There was a 20-some% drop in the market, and trading was just halted. And if it weren't, then the before opening of the markets the next day, there was some plunge protection team. It wasn't called that then, but there was a team that came in and provided liquidity. And if they hadn't, it would have been a massive liquidation event across the board in the global economy, right? So this is what happens. It is a centralized, points of protection that happened right there. It is still relatively early in some senses. I think it would take. The difference is here, though, that there isn't a central point of control. So like New York Stock Exchange does control like all of the trading on that exchange, right? There's no other exchange that's like trading those assets in a major way, right? They kind of have a monopoly over most of those equities.
Yeah, for the most part. Yep.
For the most part, right? But yeah, I mean, with BitMEX, it was different. There's a lot of other exchanges that obviously are trading Bitcoin. So I think as we move further and further along, like there's not going to be a central point to be able to kind of stop a massive run like that, a massive panic. Hey, that's a free market. So if that's what we want,
even look what happened with this news. You'd think that we would have seen an even bigger price drop, but we didn't, because as big as BitMEX is, there are other options like Deribit and like a million other platforms, and I think people realize that, and that's why I said this on Meister this morning. I find this drop to be a bullish drop, a very bullish drop, because it could have been far worse than it wasn't.
Yeah, they've also
go ahead.
They've lost market share compared to 2 years ago. Binance and OKX and Huobi have taken a lot more of leverage trading on. So BitMEX is nowhere near as important as it was in 2017, 2018.
I definitely agree that it's good news that the price was relatively unaffected. I still take the view that less BitMEX is good for Bitcoin. I mean, we could argue about whether, well, yeah.
Maybe it's not less BitMEX is good for Bitcoin, but more Swan is good for Bitcoin.
There we go. Now we're talking.
I think I sort of worry that one of the potential dangers of this is it's just off-putting to other entrepreneurs who want to open up sort of new realms in Bitcoin, and they're going to, in the back of their head, be thinking like, oh man, if I get too big, the U.S. government is going to come after me. So
that's why you buy some sly roundabout way. You got to build something that and to touch on something, if you're watching us on Meister this morning, I'm really excited about what Atomic Loans is going to be doing. They're building something decentralized that no one can, that I don't think anyone can shut down. I think that's going to be a trend coming up, that if we can do these things in a decentralized way, then there's nothing to shut down. So we'll see.
Could you give a 2-minute summary on what Atomic Loan, or a 2-sentence summary on that? It's just decentralized loans on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, what it looks like they're doing, I think they're in a beta, is they're offering loans and I guess you can provide liquidity, I guess for DAI and for stable coins, which I'm not that excited about, but what they're, if you listen to I think Matthew Black is his name, or Matt Black, on the recent Tales from the Crypt, he gets into it a lot more, but they're going to be leveraging Lightning Network and the RGB protocol to basically bring hopefully a more responsible version of DeFi to Bitcoin, which I think will be kind of cool. And why I think that's kind of cool is if you look what's happening with Ethereum, like anytime someone spins up a new token and there's all sorts of crazy shit going on, it increases the fees like no other, right? If with what Atomic is doing and basically what's going to be possible with RGB and Lightning, if a bunch of degenerates want to spin up some new token on Lightning and play around, they can go and do that, and it's not going to affect the main chain whatsoever. So
more gambling.
Yeah.
More leverage, more gambling. I mean, I think we could probably all agree that if something can be built on Bitcoin, then better that than building it on Ethereum, right?
Yeah. Undoubtedly. And, this is the way things have been for quite a while. Bitcoin's a much more conservative approach to development, which it ought to be, because it is the unit of account for this space, and is going to become the unit of account for the global financial system at some point, I believe. And so, these guys who are developing on Bitcoin need to be super conservative. They can't move fast and break things, like Vitalik was talking about in the early days of Ethereum, taking that idea from Mark Zuckerberg, no less. And you don't want to take that approach when you're talking about your money or the financial rails for your money. So the system has all these altcoins, and have experimented, on in a sense. And this is the one thing where I could see, altcoins having a use case, which is, let's experiment with this stuff where it doesn't matter, and we'll figure out what works, and then we'll figure out how to do it on Bitcoin. And so it is nice. I mean, that is also what testnet is for, guys. It would be nice to be doing all this stuff on testnet instead of out there with real money. So maybe there's another motivation behind it besides testing things out for Bitcoin. I don't know. Maybe.
Bring all that stuff on chain on the first layer. I mean, I like the idea of second layer. Second layer has minimal risk, but the more stuff you build on the base chain that increases demand, that jacks up the fees, the more hash power you bring, the more competition there is on the base chain, which pushes up those lower value, utility up to the second layer, which builds out the second layer and pushes things to the third layer. And the deeper this thing gets, while the base chain just gets stronger and stronger. Yep.
Absolutely, man. This is how it's going. Atomic.loans, if you guys want to check it out, and that TFTC episode will have more detail. Some of the lines here on this front page: non-custodial Bitcoin-backed loans. Giving custody is not okay. Do it the Bitcoin way. Get liquidity without selling your Bitcoin. Double down and leverage your Bitcoin. Leverage your Bitcoin up to 3x in a completely decentralized manner. I really want to see how that works.
One important thing to note is these guys were Ethereum guys, and they realized that Ethereum was basically a dumpster fire, and they're like, all right, we got to go back to Bitcoin. So,
all right, well, welcome back. Welcome back into the fold.
Bitcoin welcomes back all its wayward sons and daughters.
It does.
Would you welcome back Roger? Would you still?
I mean, if he admits, if he admits error and admits defeat. It's funny that I have mixed feelings on this. I'm kind of more in the slay your heroes, camp. I keep hearing people talking about how, Trace Mayer was, did so much for me in helping me to understand, Bitcoin, 7 years ago. And I'm like, okay, but you're trying to tell me we don't have, 10x, 100x the talent, the educational talent in Bitcoin now? Mow down that first row of soldiers. There's a whole army behind. We're going to be fine.
I agree. I mean, I'm one of the first people to admit that Roger did some great things back in the day, but I think with some people, they reach a point where you're your past actions do not excuse present actions. And, anyway, let's stop talking about it.
Forgiveness. I do believe in forgiveness. So, if they come back and ask forgiveness, I'm open-minded.
Yeah, I am too. Roger Ver would be a hard one for me, just because he scammed so hard in the name of Bitcoin, right? If you're going to do it with the shitcoin, I get that. You see there of your ways. You come around to being a Bitcoiner, find out that that's what matters, and you want to spend your time on that. It's a common story. Most Bitcoiners have that story. But to have turn and like use the Bitcoin name itself directly on Bitcoin.com and tricking people into buying Bitcoin Cash. Unforgivable. And he still does it to this day. So it's like, I don't know, maybe that's unforgivable. He would have to come out and, apologize pretty freaking hard, but he's been scamming people for quite a long time in the name of Bitcoin. That's a hard one to recover from.
Yeah. Yep.
But I generally agree. Forgiveness. Come back into the Bitcoin fold.
With the appropriate amount of contrition, and maybe there's a cost. Maybe buying an indulgence. Maybe Roger Ver. The cost of an indulgence to get back into Bitcoin heaven is high. Maybe he has to. I don't know how this would be possible, but maybe he has to verifiably, dump all his Bcash and plow it into Bitcoin, and I don't know. Crawl. What did they used to do? Like you have to like crawl around the church on your knees 100 times or something. What were some of the church's old acts required for forgiveness?
Well, you have to buy your way out, right?
You have to say the rosary, 1,000 times. Maybe you have to go on live stream and recite the Bitcoin white paper, 1,000 times. About
you have to burn a whole Bitcoin.
You have to burn at least a lot for him. A lot more than that.
That's true.
Yeah. The punishment should fit the crime.
We hereby declare Roger Ver guilty of scamming people out of their Bitcoin.
Exactly. If anyone can rule on this, it's Brekkie.
Exactly.
There we go.
Military tribunal time. Dishonorably discharged from the rank and file of Bitcoiners. Anyway.
That's right. The court
Keep
of
going,
Bitcoin,
Brekkie.
The court of Bitcoin is a military one.
The People's Court of Opinions finds you guilty, Roger, of being a scammer and a scumbag.
You can't handle the truth. Yeah, you did. What do we got in the chat? Oh, it's some Bear chat. We had some question. We had a question a long time ago. Let's see
what we got.
Here we go. Serious question. Why is BTC not going up more in the tail end of 2020? I would think the world chaos would move more people in.
Because you're not shilling hard enough. No.
Exactly. Get more people on the Swan on-ramp, which provides buying pressure that will raise the price, et cetera, et cetera.
It's true.
Yeah. The hodl floor. Raise the hodl floor. Yeah. So, who wants to take a swipe at this one?
And I'll take a very short one. Evidently, demand is not yet high enough. Education. Our job as educators, we haven't done it well enough yet.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well said. I like that one.
We need to.
That is the only correct answer. We can just speculate.
I'll put in the investors. I'll put on the investors hat. Pass me the right hat, would you, Brekkie? The investor hat. Everything right now, as far as investment is concerned, from my perspective, is about government. Right? It's about what's the Fed going to do, and when will we get the next stimulus? From Congress. Or the Fed. And that's pretty much it. It's driving stocks, it's driving gold, it's driving, bonds. It's basically everything. I think it's probably, if you look at the correlations, so far this year, it seems to be all about the dollar. And dollars come out of the U.S. government, as we all know. And so the U.S. government decides how big a deficit are we going to run and how many dollars are we going to deliver into either the markets, or people's wallets in the case of the stimulus, if and when there's more of that. And that's the main driver. So if I'm making the question was, in 2020. So if God help me, I'm not going to make a forecast, but if I was to guess about what's going to drive, whether we see a new all-time high by December, it's probably going to be what comes out of government.
Yeah, I think that's true.
But and remember, that's the December view.
That's the short
2021, the fundamentals and the scarcity and all that stuff should drive it, in my opinion. I'm just taking the, what happens by Christmas. Will we be talking about this? How many questions will we be fielding around the Christmas table is more likely driven by what I described. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I remember on the first episode you did with Preston, Andy, called All Time High by Christmas.
He did, and I called him out on that too. I put the timestamp on that one.
Sure did. So
I hope he's right.
TikTok next block, Preston.
I hope he's right. He very well could be. It's very possible.
It's certainly possible.
Yeah, but as always, there's that range of confidence between, are we going to make that break, by November, December, January, or February? We really don't know within a months or two confidence interval. We probably know within a 6-month confidence interval.
Yeah,
I would suggest.
Yeah, sounds reasonable to me. When moon soon. That's always the answer. Moon soon.
That's right.
Hang on, huddle on.
What do you guys think? Reed made an unassailable point.
Yeah, that's the only answer.
The band is too low.
The price will rise when there are more buyers than sellers.
I do think that Dan M last week in this One Signal Live brought up a good point that Bitcoin has just been absurdly correlated to traditional markets, and so everything has been a dollar trade essentially at this point, reflecting all of 2020, and that may continue in the short term. But as a result of everything being this dollar trade, more and more people in 2020 are realizing that, and like we're getting more and more Bitcoiners onboarded through this spring and summer who are realizing like the dollar drives everything, and the dollar is sort of broken. And so if the Fed continues to do a lot of shenanigans, I think you're going to just see more and more people realize it and wake up to that and move into Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Spot on.
Yeah, number go up helps. So, the attention will, once you start getting the number go up, kind of dominoes falling, break through the previous, the local all-time high, which, it's not so local anymore, but would technically on a chart be like 14,000, 13,800, I think. So that'll cause a stir. Traders watch that stuff, all of those charts and models and stuff. A lot of them, if they're popular, become self-fulfilling prophecies, support lines and wedges and all that stuff. So, I was watching those things for a while. I know Reed, you were. Brekkie, did you ever trade and watch and do TA stuff? Watch the TA YouTube channels?
I watched one or two videos. I traded a little bit, but it was more just like gambling. I think this is going to go up, or my buddy. This was in 2017, the ICO, and before I was a Bitcoiner, and he'd be like, "Oh, I heard about this," and so I'd buy it. But I bought it after him, then I'd get dumped on, and no.
It was just a game of finding the right chat rooms where they were planning the pump and dumps. That's basically what it came down to.
Yeah, but I was always in those chat groups. I was in the groups, and I was one of the ones getting dumped on. They're in Palm Beach Leaks or any of this bullshit.
Well, they have the public facing group. You got to get into the private group behind the public group. Yeah. That's where they plan it all.
I wasn't
bring it all.
Yeah.
Because they build a public group, huge public groups, and they play them like a fiddle. It's such a scam. Anyway,
my 2 cents on TA. I am not a TA expert. I have learned a little bit just because you can't spend much time in this space without a little bit of it permeating your brain. The only thing I use it for is a little bit to time buys. So I have my auto stack on with Swan, boom, just accumulating over time. That to me is the base level. And then, to the extent I have a little bit of extra, dirty fiat lying around, and I'm for whatever reason, feeling that now might be the time to buy some extra, then I might, look at the charts a little and say, okay, is there some technical setup for why now would be the time to do the extra, incremental timed buy?
Yeah, we've been talking about formula buys on Swan, which would sort of be a way to go about this. I mean, we're talking about some fun ones, but also some indicator based, like so we're calling it if then stack. I think Phil Geiger came up with that phrase, which is perfect. So it's like if this then that is. It's a phrase used in coding to do a basic logic structure, but it's also a website where you can like connect various APIs. So if this thing happens on one service, then do this on another service. Same thing with stacking. So if like Peter Schiff tweets about Bitcoin, you stack 20% more. If you're are within 10% of the mayor multiple low or whatever, like all that stuff. If then stack. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, and we have a good idea, good ideas on fun ways on rolling it out to crowdsource different formulas.
And that's building up to what I think many people have come to realize, which is you should have your baseline just auto stack accumulate over time.
Yep.
But we're all human, and it's hard to not want to trade or time a little bit. And Swan is building out that capability.
Internally within Swan, I am a rigorous DCA only, and if I ever earn like an extra random chunk of money, I immediately am terrified that my dollars are going to get devalued. So as quickly as possible, I smash buy.
Yeah,
I'm not into DCA. I'm also like Peter Schiff tweets. Sure, sometimes they time the bottom, but eventually that pattern is going to be wrong.
Of course it will. Of course it will.
Bitcoin's going to the moon, and I do not want to be left with holding any fiat.
Right.
You hoover every last cent immediately into the Swan smash buy.
Yeah, pretty much. I am running a terrifyingly small fiat balance in my daily life.
Dude,
I'm right there with you, man. I'm right there with you.
That's another way to go. When you've got kids and stuff, I'll only speak for myself here. I have to carry a little bit more cushion. I have to carry a little bit more dirty fiat. That's not to say that I couldn't, put a hard limit on that, and then every incremental dollar smash by, literally every.
That's what we've done. Yeah, we have a savings account, which is just melting all the time, which does worry me. but it gets drawn from if we need it. And we replenish it up to a certain level. But anything beyond just goes into Bitcoin. And right now I'm adjusting my Bitcoin, my Swan buys if I need to, and then the rest of it just I'm looking forward to the one-off buys. On Swan, I think that's going to be a feature that sort of completes the package for everybody, because then you've got you've got the regular stack on, and then you've got your on-demand stack to build on, to put on top of it.
Yep. You'll have the whole suite. You can time it as you wish. Hopefully, the Swan team. You got we all keep cranking out the mantra of DCA and auto stack, and try to capture as much of the behavior into that function as possible, because as we know, that's really what people ought to be doing. Almost nobody can trade successfully. 99%.
Time in the market beats timing the market 99% of people. Stack with Swan. Hey, daily buys, Brekkie, throw that back up. Daily buys coming soon. swanbitcoin.com/daily buys. Sign up, get in the group. We will be sending out the access to daily buys to the group, people signing up on the beta group. So that should be happening. Like, we're in kind of any moment phase now. You know how dev goes. It's always 2 weeks, but it should be actually 2 weeks, I think.
It hasn't been always 2 weeks. It was a month.
No, well, yeah, I know. It's just like, it's a developer joke. It's always 2 weeks out. It never changes. Yeah.
Brekkie, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm sure that was really funny though.
It was very funny. It was tremendously funny. I was saying, as long as the time frame gets shorter and shorter, unlike Ethereum where it gets larger and larger, then we're good. That's all I really got.
Oh yeah, BTC Moon guy had a really good point. Bring up the unit bias. Let's jam on that for a second. This is a big deal.
What is it?
The unit bias comment. I think a lot of pre-coiners think they can't afford it. Unit bias is real. And yeah, this is a good point. So, I mean, unit bias is very, very basically that everything on exchanges is priced in Bitcoin, whole Bitcoins or fractions thereof with a decimal and like lots of zeros and then some numbers afterwards, all the way down eight decimal places. So it looks like, $10,000 for a Bitcoin, $11,000 for Bitcoin looks really expensive. Some people, think that you have to buy a whole one. And just saying that you can buy a fraction of Bitcoin is an important, thing to remind people. And then secondly, you're looking at Bitcoin next to tokens with massive supplies. So you can buy like Ripple or Cardano or, even Ethereum. You can buy a bunch of, I can buy 100,000 Cardano for the same price as one Bitcoin or whatever it is. Like that's a much better deal. Or I can spend $10 and get 100 Cardanos, whatever they're called. And that makes that looks better. Like I'd rather have 10 of something than 0.00001 of something, right? So yeah, unit bias is real. It matters, and that's why we need to make sats the standard. That's why Matt Odell's always harping on it. It matters.
I like Patrick Pellegrino's comment. Just buy as much as possible.
There you go. That's it. It's simple, man. It's simple. This is Bitcoin Zen.
And I think it's part of the genius of the DCA and the auto stack is, most people still think in terms of dollars, and that's fine. You set your $100 a week, a couple $100 a week, whatever the number is for you, and soon daily, and that you'll get a fair price on Bitcoin, and even if you're stacking fractions, it accumulates over time. But yeah, of course the unit bias is real, and I'm still, even though I'm like okay at math, I still struggle sometimes to do the mental transfer to sats. I'm like, the 100 million divided by. Wait a minute.
It's going to be much more difficult when it transitions off of being about 10,000.
About 10K, right?
That's per dollar.
Yeah.
I was initially actually quite bearish about making sats the standard because in my mind I could foresee somebody just coming out with a shitcoin that was just sats, just named sats.
Just steal the brand.
Like, no,
Roger.
That has to have happened. How is that not? How does that not happen?
We've got a.
But increasingly, as a result of not seeing that idea out more, I'm like turning around a little bit to making sats the standard. But you got to be careful. Someone's going to make that shitcoin.
That is like I've never heard that pushback against it. That's a good point. There's no sat. Oh, here it is. Saturn coin. Ticker symbol sat.
Stacking sats. No.
Ticker symbol sat.
Yeah.
Project is untracked. All right. Well, someone tried to do it. It's dead. There's
good.
No
Good.
market cap for it. It was probably Pierre Rochard that did that actually, just to take that ticker symbol off the market.
No, he probably made chair coin, which is definitely a
sat. Yeah, chair coin with the ticker symbol sat. That's a good one. I like that.
A cool, interesting comment. I think we should consider it from MG Smith. I'd love a collab live stream with Obi and the guys at CoinFloor for a joint US-UK perspective on BTC. Can it happen?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, we should do that for one of these Swan Lounges. It'd be fun.
Yeah, let's definitely do that. I did a podcast with Obi not too long ago, a few months ago, on Citizen Bitcoin. So you can go to citizenbitcoin.world. And it was definitely while I was with Swan. So we talked DCA. Really cool guy, great background and story, and been in Bitcoin for a long time.
I can vouch. That was a great episode. I remember that one.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, that was a fun one. And I think, we should definitely have him on Swan Lounge sometime and hang out.
Yeah, it'd be fun to get him, get Alex Spetsky, get maybe the guys that started Rely. That was fun.
Yeah.
Get like a little crew of DCA only.
Global Bitcoin DCA mob, crew, gang, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's a good idea.
You'd have to get the Friar in on that one, right?
Oh yeah.
Obviously, Friar will just be in the middle, and we'll all be like around him, and every 3 seconds we all have to tithe to the network the entire time. So we'll just have to
continuous tithe. What is going to be the limit? Do we think of frequency on purchase via Swan? In other words, weekly to daily to what?
Oh, after that, I don't know.
Is daily the limit?
We've talked
at
about
least for now.
hourly.
Yeah, we have talked about it. It's,
Okay.
I mean,
I didn't mean to turn this into a product development conversation.
I suspect you have other priorities first.
Yeah.
Go hit daily, do probably 3 or 4 other priorities, and then revisit.
Eventually, I mean, people like have always been talking about this with Lightning Network. Like, imagine if you're earning your wages, in real time via Lightning. I mean, that'd be kind of cool too. Although you couldn't.
I don't really understand the need for that.
I just.
I don't think you need to be settling like every millisecond. But yeah, I mean, at some point it gets to be absurd. I think hourly would be a reasonable thing to do. I mean, if you're looking to smooth out volatility, I think hourly would do a pretty damn good job.
Yep.
I think daily is going to do a pretty good job too. So
I agree.
Yeah.
And if you look back historically, there's almost no difference historically between weekly and daily. So
yeah, exactly. So even there, and it seems like it's a big change, right? You're going from 52 buys a year to 365 buys a year, and it's actually, like, if you look at the numbers, it's not that big of a difference. So going to hourly is probably even smaller difference, I would imagine.
Yeah. Good point. It don't matter in the grand scheme. I'm sure there's there'd be a certain number of people who are like, yeah, I want to be buying all the time continuously. I want to be stacking. But
I think Bitteroo does that for the Friar. I think the Bitteroo has like a plan that lets you buy absurdly fast. I don't know how often it is, like every a certain number of minutes or something. Yeah, they call it the Friar Haas plan.
I do remember that. I remember hearing him talk about that on some pod recently, I think.
Yeah. I don't see the details here quickly, but yeah. All right. So yeah, we've gone over an hour and 10 minutes. I guess a little over an hour. We started about 10 minutes after. So yeah, we should probably wrap up. Brekkie's got a call. He's got to work and stuff.
Got to actually someone's got to build the Swan, right?
Why you got to blame it on me? Okay.
Yeah, true. I just don't have a call in 30 minutes. So did you want to close up with some Bitcoin Arsenal stuff?
Yeah, we can do that. So folks at home, if you don't know the Bitcoin Arsenal, it is our, what do you even call it? It's like a mimetic repository of information. And we just added a page for Sven Starfury, who's a freaking legend and makes amazing GIFs. So I'm going to do a little screen share and show you some of this awesome stuff he's done. And y'all should go check it out for sure. Where is it? Damn you. Window. Is this it? This might. No, that could be my personal Swan balance.
You don't want to open up your personal Swan balance.
Wasn't Margot Robbie again, was it?
No, we can do that if need be. Hold on, let me just close the page with my personal.
That'd be more fun.
Then it won't be an issue anymore. Let's try that. Nope, that's the wrong one. That's cool. All right, try it again.
In the meantime,
there it is. Okay, we're good.
I was gonna say I just got there. I was gonna try to beat you to it. Okay.
Cool. So let me get rid of this graphic, and then we'll scroll through captions. Bing, bang, boom. All right. Sven Starfury. I don't want to read his bio out to you guys, but he's a super interesting guy, super cypherpunk. Was like doing all sorts of like really cool stuff back in the day. And then he discovered Bitcoin and then discovered After Effects. And hold on, I got this damn graphic in the way. So his GIFs are like, they're super educational, but super interesting. And I really love them. Gentlemen, if you see one as I'm scrolling that
right there, wait, stop at that right there. So that one with the flag is one of my all-time favorites. But then he did another one. He did another version of it with like this sort of like Tron background, like cyber, background with a grid, like a neon grid behind it.
I think
that is my very favorite one. Yeah, that one. There it is. I love it. That's my all-time favorite Bitcoin meme.
Oh,
Use it
also,
all-
if you're on Twitter or Telegram, you can, I think, search for Star Fury, and most of these should pop up. Or if you search Bitcoin, they might be there too. So show them far and wide. All right, where were we? All right, flags of our fathers, Iwo Jima. Fix the money, fix the world. The Pac-Man one is one of my favorites too.
That's
so
great.
good. I mean, they're all my favorites. Even like this one,
Banksy.
Banksy threw a little swan logo and an anarchy symbol in there.
Yeah, the Banksy one is classic.
Yeah, so good. This one's pretty classy.
Oh man, I love that swan moon.
Yeah, right.
Dang, that one's sexy. This is a new one. Fix the money, fix the world. I think that's relatively recent.
That one's good. Have you seen the one below it, the Internet Protocol stack?
Oh yeah. We talked about that one while he was making it, actually, because he was trying to get some feedback on. Yeah. This is great. This is a fantastic metaphor, and it's not even a metaphor; it's reality. LNPBP is the protocol for wealth transfer on the internet, and it's just another layer on top of the internet protocol stack. Stacking protocols.
LNPBP. I need to use that more.
Yeah, Lightning Network Protocol, Bitcoin Protocol. It's like TCP/IP, right? So that's the transmission control protocol, internet protocol.
And it's got the same number of letters.
It's got the same number of letters, and they're analogous to each other. So TCP is analogous to LNP in terms of like their function in the stack, and vice versa. So it's great.
Oh, so good.
LNPBP.
LNPBP. Oh wow, that's trippy.
The HODL.
Oh,
Yeah.
HODL.
Oh, there you go. TikTok next block. That's by Baby Meme.
So good.
I love that one.
And some trippier ones.
I hadn't realized this was because I've seen not all of these, but I've seen a lot of them, and I can't believe it's all him.
Right?
Or whoever it is.
He's working with Dan Held as well, making all these gifts for him.
Yeah. So that's where Held got his gifts. Interesting.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, go back up. This is a good one.
Which one?
Right there. The global reserve currencies. I love that one. It's such a great visualization. And like global reserve currencies change. They last an average amount of time, and we're actually like, within that range for the dollar too. They last a surprisingly short amount of time.
The crazy thing also is like that so many people don't realize this. Like even my dad, who like is a well-educated guy, like I taught him that like the dollar we're using today was like pre-1971. It was a different dollar. Like a lot of people don't get it. So yeah. That's slightly different than reserve currency. But anyway. Alrighty, folks. I think that's the end of Mr. Star Fury.
Awesome. Shout out Sven. Great stuff.
Is Sven? Where's Sven from?
I think he's in Aussie right now. I think he's in Australia. But
yeah, he is. But he was born in East Berlin, and they escaped.
Yeah, and Swedish background, obviously. He and I are bros in that sense.
That's what I was wondering about.
It's Vincent.
Swedes are the Swedish blood is strong with Bitcoin.
It is. Well,
did we talk about this before? I'm 3/4 by heritage.
Yeah, we did talk about this.
Yeah. Several generations, like 5 generations back. It's been a while, but
Vikings.
Yeah, that's me. I'm a Viking.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was a fun time. Thanks for joining us, everyone. It was awesome to hang out with y'all. This is just a hangout vibe, something that we get to do every Friday and talk some Bitcoin. Love to have you join us in the chat. We'll, throw your hot takes and questions up on the screen and talk about them. So bring that to the chat. If you're watching and not able to chat, plan on chatting next time. It's going to get fun. We'll bring you into the show. And thanks, guys. Thanks, Brekkie. Thanks, Reed. Thanks, Andy. Great time.
Should we close out with the Raul video just because we love the Raul video?
Because why not? Let's do it.
All right, folks.
See you guys next week.
See ya.
This is one of the best setups in any asset class I've ever witnessed, said Raul when the bull began its run. Bitcoin is likely set to be the best performing major asset in the world by a big margin, and so the bull began its run. My conviction levels in Bitcoin rise every day. I'm already irresponsibly long as the bull begins its run. I am now thinking it may not even be worth owning any other asset as a long-term allocation, said Raul when the bull began its run. Visit swanbitcoin.com. The bull has begun its run.
Oh my God.
I don't want to play it again, but we gotta go.
Are we